Yes, we are indeed. We're playing the game according to my rules. Welcome back, everyone. Ooh. This is the Four Horsemen of Fantasy. We are all together once again. It's great to have everyone here. On my right, I have Gil Benhamu, I have Carlos Ortiz, and I have Nick Romeo. I've said them all correctly this week. Let's go. Round of applause for me. Thank you very much, Carlos. Great stuff. How are you guys doing this week? What's news?
Well, it took forever to get here, first and foremost. So Carlos and I were suffering, but I'm on pace to place third in my fantasy basketball league. And other than that, everything else has been going pretty well, other than the fact that I've lost Steph Curry for the rest of the year.
Yeah,
that'll hurt.
That sucks.
That's tough.
Makes me sad.
And it's actually quite sad. We're based out of Iona College, for anyone who doesn't know. And there was actually a fire that broke out in a commercial building last night, and there was a fatality. So it's been very, very busy on North Ave on the street outside of Iona this morning. So obviously, hope everything's okay for that family and everything like that. So we're gonna get into it. Quite an exciting for me, at least. I hope it's exciting for you guys. Exciting episode coming up here. We're going to talk about NBA first, cut to break, and then we're going to talk about some NFL as well. So to get us started off, we're just going to talk a little bit about the play-in tournament. There's about 6 games left for each team in the East and the West, which is kind of crazy. This NBA season has absolutely flown by. So let's get started with the less interesting one, I think, which is the East. So I'm just going to run through the teams that are in contention for the play-in tournament. So obviously the top 8 teams make it in, okay, and then the 9 and 10 seed will be in the play-in tournament. So right now the Cavs are 2 wins ahead of the Nets, and then you have the Hornets and the Nets separated by half a win, and then the Hawks are 1 win behind the Hornets and the Nets. So the Hawks are in the 10 spot, and then we will mention the Knicks. I'm sorry, Gil. I mean, they're 5 wins back from the Hawks. I can't see them.
That's pretty good. I thought that was a sound effect.
I can't see them catching the Hawks somehow. So, Gil, why don't you get us started? What are you thinking is going to happen in this East race?
First and foremost, shout out to Toronto. Yeah. They were in the play-in picture for the majority of the year. So, and then to move out and bounce ahead of Cleveland, who at one point were the 2nd seed in the East. And are sitting pretty much at the same record as the Bulls, who we thought were perennial contenders this year.
Yeah.
So impressive performances by them. From top to bottom, they're just a well-constructed roster.
Siakam's a beast.
Siakam's a beast. Van Vliet is an all-star.
Yep.
Scotty Barnes is a stud.
Generational.
Absolutely. I think it obviously stands as it is. The only concern I have right now is placing in terms of where the teams stack. To correct Jack, it's the 7th through the 10th team. They'll be playing on the play-in.
Oh, sorry, yeah, that's right.
7 plays the 8, 9 plays the 10, and then from there on, it just determines who goes where. So as it stands, Cleveland will play Brooklyn, Charlotte will play Atlanta. I think Charlotte finishes as the 10th. They'll bounce down to 1, and I think Brooklyn finishes ahead of Cleveland, just given the trajectory of certain things. I'm not saying Cleveland's bad, I just think Brooklyn now with a full force minus Ben Simmons, you get Kyrie back for the home games, back at Barclays. Obviously, this changes everything, because now Brooklyn gets the run they need to make to get into the playoffs. You have Kyrie Irving for a full series on moving forward. Unless you run into a really good team like Milwaukee or Miami, who I like Miami, but it's still a question mark with them, or even Boston if they get Robert Williams back soon enough. I would say the Nets make it out of the play-in the farthest between the 4 of them.
Yeah, so, I think that's. I mean, going into the season, to think right now that the Nets are in the 8th spot is kind of crazy. I mean, I know the whole stuff happened with Kyrie and stuff, and there's been trades either way, and you know, I don't think many people expected James Harden not to finish on this roster. So yeah, Nick, what do you think?
I was going the Nets side as well, but just to be a little different, I got the Atlanta Hawks coming out of the play-in tournaments for me. You know, they've been there, they've done it. Trae Young's a stud, and just on their side alone, I think their 3-point shooting is really what stands them out. And I think, you know what, they beat Philly last year. Surprising how they could even do that. Was it last year?
It was. I do want to mention to your point with the Hawks is like a lot of stuff had to go right for them to get that far. Yeah. Like the Knicks severely underperformed last year. Ben Simmons.
The Hawks were the St. Peters of last year.
That's right. Yeah. No. Like a lot had to go right for them, and as a lot of things has to go right for any team in the playoffs. Yeah. But I think the Hawks got really lucky in a lot of circumstances, given, like I said, with the Knicks underperforming, specifically Julius Randle, Ben Simmons kind of just falling under and hiding behind everybody else.
Yeah.
And then they ran into a legit team in the Milwaukee Bucks, and then they gave them all they could, but Milwaukee was the better team.
As long as Trey does his thing, I think Hawks have a good shot. But again, it's most likely going to be Nets.
I think what's concerning is if you are one of the higher seeded teams, it's going to be kind of scary having to play the Nets early on in the playoffs. If they, I think they will make it out, and if you have to face Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, it's a little bit like, oh my God, we did really well this year, and now, if you're like a Milwaukee or whatever, that could be almost like that was the finals.
That was, yeah.
So it's like, and you could have that at the start of the tournament, that could be huge. So, Carlos, what do you think?
I'm in lockstep with you guys. I think the Hawks have pretty much got the 10 spots sewn up. Whether it's going to be Brooklyn or the Charlotte Hornets flip-flopping spots. Now, here's the thing that if you're a Nets fan, you really want Toronto to get out of the play-in completely, because if the Nets have to play the Raptors, then that's Kyrie Irving that you're not going to have for those away games.
Oh, that's right.
You're not going to be, because Canada hasn't lifted the restrictions yet. So the Nets, you really want to avoid the Raptors. Everybody else is fair game. But isn't that seriously going to be one of the most scariest low-seeded teams in
recent history? Absolutely, yeah.
Because more often than not in the NBA, 8 seeds get rolled over by the first seed. Very rarely does an advance. In hockey, it's a different thing. I think hockey, I've seen a lot of 8 seeds advance. But in the NBA, it's usually a chalk league. The Nets could be a team that, like the Lakers last year, where they were favored over the Suns as a lower seed when they were 7 going against the 2 Suns. You're going to see the Nets favored as a lower seed a lot in series. But the Toronto thing is going to scare me. So, but I think Toronto has enough, if you take a look at their schedule, to hold off the Cavs. I really like the Cavs, but I think that 7, 8, 9, 10, it's going to be Cavs, Nets, Hornets, Hawks. Maybe the order changes a little bit, but those are the 4 teams in the East.
I do want to mention one thing, because as I said before, as it stands, Brooklyn plays Cleveland. In Cleveland. This doesn't go to Brooklyn. I feel like we're writing off the Cavaliers as a good team, because remember, this is not a playoff series. This is one game. Obviously, the losing team gets another chance between the 7 and 8. That's crucial. But I wouldn't write off those Cavaliers teams just yet, especially because I think they're a lot better coached than what we think.
They were a top 5 team in the East for a lot of the season.
At one point, they were the second seed.
They kind of faded off a little bit, and maybe it's just, the more talented teams getting their legs underneath them, that the rookies, not necessarily say rookies, but, the upstart Cavs, now people are kind of seeing the tape on them a little bit. I still think you're right. It's a quality team, but, do I see the same type of a team that I saw in the first half of the season? Maybe not so much.
They lost their X factor. Jared Allen was hurt.
Jared Allen was the biggest factor.
I thought you guys were going to mention Colin Sexton there.
Colin Sexton, I feel like
also has been done for the entire season.
Yeah. They've been.
You know what it is? I completely forget about Sexton because of how good that Garland has been playing.
Yeah. But this is also to the point that they were just riddled with season-ending injuries from the jump.
Yeah.
They lose Sexton early. Ricky Rubio got hurt before he got traded.
And he was playing outstanding.
He was playing amazing basketball. They acquired Karis LeVert, who's been on and off with injuries as well. Jared Allen's obviously hit with a big injury as well. So if they weren't hit with, if they were a completely healthy team, this would have been a different conversation, and they probably wouldn't have been in the play-in. But that doesn't, it still goes to the fact that they're still a well-coached team, and they were kind of under the same scenario that the Knicks were last year, because they were a very defensive first team, first and foremost. They have offensive keys like Darius Garland, LeVert, and I think they could capitalize on that. If they can manage a way to slow down the rest of the team, because there's obviously no way you can completely stop Kevin Durant from getting his 30. But if you could slow down Patty Mills, Blake Griffin, LaMarcus Aldridge, Nicholas Claxton, Bruce Brown, so on and so forth, that changes the whole dynamic of the game. Because now you rely on Steve Nash to actually coach, which I think he's completely inept at doing. And if Steve Nash has to coach, they're screwed.
When you got KD and Kyrie, you really don't have to.
But if you need Steve Nash to coach, they're screwed. That's like the problem.
No, KD and Kyrie wouldn't to coach themselves. So now for the West, I'm not going to go down the whole rundown for the West, but I am going to throw.
Can I just mention Evan Mobley there as well?
Oh, yeah.
Evan Mobley's a generational talent.
He just got hurt too.
He's out for the next 3 games, they've said. So I'm assuming they will not play him until they have to play him in the play-in tournament. So,
absolutely, yeah.
So Evan Mobley, I think he's been. I think he's probably. he's probably rookie of the year.
Oh, I
Mobley
think
is
so.
miles ahead in that race.
Yeah, I mean, like, I know I want to say it, like, I'm trying to think that just before
Cade's playing pretty good basketball,
Yeah.
but Mobley from the jump, like from
I think,
game
yeah,
one
he's
of
also
80.
the effect he has
I mean,
had on his team, I think.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
that's
no,
what's
Mobley
been huge.
changes everything for that
Yeah.
team.
Because the Cavaliers were terrible last year. So I'm not going to run down the West, but I want to just throw one question out there. I almost think it's low-hanging fruit because where I stand on this, the Lakers. The fact that they're not even in the play-in tournament right now, if the season were to end, they're in the 10th spot.
Well, actually, no, they
in
have
the
a
10th
half game.
spot.
They have the half game advantage over San Antonio.
Oh,
right
okay,
now.
because I see, yeah.
The 10th spot is
because it's
in,
31-44 for the Lakers, 31-35 for the Spurs.
Yeah.
So I think the Spurs could wind up jumping. Do you guys see a world that the Lakers actually make the play-in tournament? I don't.
I do. I think
do.
it's still very much a coin flip.
Let me run down their rest of season schedule. The one thing is that they have one extra game over the San Antonio Spurs. So they have 7 games remaining. They play tonight at the Jazz, which I feel like is going to be a tough one.
I think it's going to be a loss for them.
They then play tomorrow. They play the Pelicans, who are just ahead of them, who also, in the last game that they played only last week, came back from 23 points down and ended up embarrassing them and beating them.
Audience, let me remind you, Jack's a Pelicans fan.
Yeah, I mean, it was embarrassing. They then play the Nuggets, the Suns, the Warriors, OKC, easy one, and then Denver again.
That's a brutal schedule.
They have the second
hard
hardest
games.
schedule.
They have really hard games remaining.
And they're not a good team.
Can I also add Spurs schedule? Because I don't think is that difficult either.
Yeah,
right?
I've got it. So, have you got it there?
Yeah, they got Portland twice, which is obviously, I think, the 2 easiest games they got left.
For sure.
Denver, Minnesota, Golden State, and then Dallas. So they're in it too. These are not easy games for either team.
And the Pelicans have the Lakers, obviously, the Clippers, who are just ahead of them, the Kings, the Trailblazers, the Grizzlies, and the Warriors. Now, also, it's probably worth saying that the Warriors, without Curry, have not looked anywhere near the same. Clay has been playing a lot better. I don't know if you guys saw Jordan Poole's shot last night.
Oh my God.
Comedy gold.
Yeah.
No, because Devin that was savvy what he did.
But they were 3 points down at half with 3 seconds to go, or whatever. And he attempted a half-court shot.
I saw that.
Because I think he was trying to go for the foul. He was trying to draw the foul or something.
Yeah.
He just jumped up, and it was like,
the smartest man.
what? Yeah, the opposite of that, basically. So let's just run down quickly. So the 7th spot is locked up with Minnesota.
Yeah.
They're 6 wins ahead of the Clippers, who are 37 and 39 in the 8th spot. The Pelicans are 33 wins, so 4 wins behind the Clippers. Then the Lakers and the Spurs both have the same amount of wins, but as we just said, the Lakers have 1 game in hand over them. So why don't Carlos? Why don't you start us off here? Who do you think is? I mean, obviously you just alluded to it.
I kind of tip my hand a little bit. I think the Timberwolves are locked in. I do like the Clippers and the Pelicans. I can't believe I'm saying I like the Pelicans, but I like the Spurs. You're ending on the schedule for the Lakers, and those games are going to be brutal. And the Spurs' schedule is not that bad. I'm also looking at that Dallas Mavericks game. Is there going to be much of a difference between the 3rd and the 4th seed for the Mavericks and the Warriors with the Curry injury? I can't see them. They're going to go jump up to 3rd now, the way that they've been looking in the last couple of games. I think they might even slide and let Denver past them. So I think the Mavericks could be in a good spot to secure the 3rd seed as well. So, are they going to risk, injury? I wouldn't play Luka, if I know I'm not going to change seeding. That could be an advantageous game for the Spurs. So I really like the Spurs to get that 10th spot. I don't like the Lakers this year.
Yeah. Nick, what do you think?
I actually got your team. I got the Pelicans doing it. I got
Getting
them
through?
Getting through.
I'd love to hear it.
Ingram's finally healthy.
Yep.
CJ McCollum's
CJ's a stud.
Oh, he's
I love
playing
CJ.
he was
well with
balling.
this
He's
team.
balling since he got traded.
Once they got him, he's done nothing but good things for that team. Val is an absolute beast under that basket. And I feel like the whole team's chemistry is just so good right now. Even without Zion.
Yeah, and I'm going to talk on this just a little bit because, as we said, obviously I am a Pelicans fan. I have been following it closer than you guys have, obviously, because why would you follow the Pelicans closely unless you kind of support the team? So the one thing with the Pelicans has been, like, they had a really slow start to the season. The whole Zion thing has been like this dark cloud over them the entire season. That's what's been really annoying, is that he has taken a lot of focus off the team. What is great about the team now is if you watch the games, they're all playing for each other. They absolutely, the camaraderie is absolutely brilliant. Herb Jones is a really good rookie. He's probably a top 5 rookie, and he was drafted in the 2nd round this year. He's been amazing. Jose Alvarado has just signed a new deal.
Put a ding on that one. I love Alvarado.
Jose Alvarado's just signed a 3 or 4 year deal now with the Pelicans just this week, and he was a undrafted free agent, and he's from New Orleans. And Zion has just traveled with the team. I don't know if any of you guys saw that. I mean, he's not going to play. He will not play this season,
You're not
pretty
gonna
much
see it all,
guaranteed.
yeah.
But what I love is that he's there. when the Pelicans are at the highest point that they've been in the last couple of years, Willie Green has harnessed like a lot of really good like personalities there, and he's brought them all together, and Zion's going to see how well everyone's meshing and getting on together, and maybe he's going to suddenly realize, wow, I've been an idiot. I don't know why I've been away from the team and, not being like lively on social media or whatever. Before I get to Gil quickly, I just want to say that AD does plan on returning versus the Pelicans.
I was going to say that too.
Yeah, so that obviously against the Pelicans, of course he's coming back for that. He's not played since February 6th.
He's going to play that game and then get hurt.
Yeah, exactly.
He's going to play 1 minute and then get hurt.
Yeah.
And LeBron is hopeful to test out his ankle. He's not playing tonight. He's been ruled out for the Jazz game tonight, but he is hopeful to test out his ankle as well.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That'll be that's just me all the time. But that will be a deciding factor. It's absolutely mind blowing. We're talking about low hanging fruit.
Ooh.
Imagine playing the Lakers. Imagine at the start of the season, you're like, you're going to get the 1 seed, but you're going to have to play against LeBron, AD, and Westbrook. Like at the time, you would have been like. At the time, shut up. At the time, you would have a bit of spit on my lip. At the time, you would have been like, "What? Like, what happened to them?" But Gil, what happened to them?
It's because like from top to bottom.
Say less. Say less, Gil. You're speaking the truth right now. I said this before and I'll say it again. They are the worst constructed roster from top to bottom. That's the problem with the Lakers. Not only, it's not all Westbrook's fault. He's doing what he could.
He's doing better of late, but it's like
you can't
too late. It's too late.
It's very much like a double-edged sword, but it's the reverse of that. It's 2 handles.
It's just a dull like circular blade that can't cut anything.
It's a practice sword. You know what I mean?
They said it going into the season. They're the oldest team going into it. They have no young talent.
Yeah,
they need help.
They had some young talent, and I forgot their names.
They traded it all the way to Washington,
and that was it.
Yeah, and the Pelicans.
I don't blame them for making I don't blame them for trading away Kuzma and KCP because Kuzma was kind of trash at the end.
Caldwell Pope was the glue to that team.
Caldwell Pope was Caldwell Pope was nice. I will say that, but like Kuzma was kind of doing too much. Yeah. Which was what was an issue, which I don't see why they should. Like I understand why they did it.
You don't like his giant pink sweater flow in the walking through the tunnel.
Did anybody else see that like tweet where it's like for every 25 likes I will make Kuzma's sweater even bigger, and it got to like thousands of likes, and it's like the biggest sweater
Those
ever.
were always so ridiculous.
He's gonna look like the Gandalf the pink,
Yeah. So I think just to that point, it's just the Lakers are just a very poorly constructed roster. LeBron obviously is carrying them. He's doing fantastic, and then
he's also the one that built that team. So he's
it's very much his own beneficiary of it because he looks great. But it's as simple as that. They're not a good team. They made no adjustments in the middle of the season, and everyone else is taking advantage of the fact that they can't really adjust. So on that point, it's pretty brief. As terms of sleepers, in terms of people that nobody's really talking about. The Los Angeles Clippers are still a very good basketball team, regardless of having Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah,
or
I'm
not.
surprised that they've done this well.
PG's back.
I'm about to say it. Paul George. Playoff P. First off, he had a fantastic playoffs last year, so he did great. I'm very impressed with how much he's improved. He's leading a team. First off, Ty Lue is a fantastic coach. I think he
didn't get enough credit at Cleveland. Now that I'm thinking about it,
really broke the trope of I was only good on a team because LeBron was on it.
Yes,
he did a good job.
He did a great job with the Clippers. You would have thought, oh, they got rid of Doc Rivers. They're going to take a step back. Nope, I was totally wrong on that take too. The Clippers exceeded a lot of expectation. On top of that, Reggie Jackson and all the role players I think are great complementary pieces.
Reggie Jackson would have looked great on the Lakers.
When he got cut from the Pistons, he chose them over the Lakers, which is funny. So that's funny enough. I think the Clippers are slept on. They got the star power. I know the Timberwolves are probably had the best record out of the Western Conference teams since the All-Star break. But I just think now with the addition of a certified scorer and star player in Paul George back to the fold, you have everything you need, at least to get out of the play-in and maybe do some damage.
Yeah,
I'm with him.
All right, we're gonna move on to our next NBA segment here, which is gonna be just some streamers for this week, just for the rest of the week. It's Thursday, March 31st right now, so obviously there's not that much time left in the week. So if you have listened to me before, what I always say is that I look at the amount of games. What are you guys doing?
I don't know. I saw him dancing, so I thought
the amount of games left in the week. It's important.
Nick heard game and said what?
That's all I heard.
It's important when you stream players that they don't have 2 games in the week. And Isaiah Hartenstein, going off the LA Clippers, is 40% rostered, and in the next 4 days he has 3 games. He's playing upwards of 25 minutes a game now. Obviously PG's back, but he doesn't play the same position as him. The last 3 games he put up 14, 7, and 6. He then put up 16, 9, and 4, and he also had what I liked one night was he had 14, 2, and 5, but he also had 2 steals and 2 blocks. That's the kind of guy in a categories league where he's padding out the stat sheet, and I think that's just really important. That's what you want. He's being picked up all over the place at the moment. I know Nick has him in one of his leagues. I know he also liked him too. So Isaiah Hartenstein is a great pickup if you're going to go and grab him right now tonight.
I got another Isaiah. I got Isaiah Roby for OKC. I pronounced his name correctly, right?
Yeah. Well done.
Thanks for letting me know, guys.
You did.
He's got 2 more games this week.
Colin's got them ready on lock today.
These are new ones. I mean, not new ones, but they're oldies but goodies. He's got 2 more games. Again, guys that aren't playing really for anything but to make sure for next season to be on that roster. And they're going to play out like they have to. They're playing for their job for next year. Mm-hmm. Last 4 games, he's averaged 43.5 points ESPN in my scoring format. Yeah. And he's only owned in 14.3% of leagues. With 2 games left this week in the Pistons, tough game against the Suns, but still, I think he's still going to be great. He had a good game of 69 points, what was it, two games ago? Honestly, he's going to be a stud. Even all of OKC, just grab that roster because no stars are playing for them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm not giving up on trees quite yet.
Wrong sport. No, I'm going to throw a 2-piece no biscuit out there for you. One of them I'm stealing from Jack. Atlanta Hawks, Kevin Huerter. I like him if you're looking to get some additional scoring. He went 8 for 10 yesterday, 4 for 5 for 3-pointers. He also got 2 rebounds and assists and 3 steals against the Thunder. But it was his 3rd straight game with at least 20 points. So, he's been consistently scoring recently, so I like him if you're looking for some offense. But if you're in a category league, this guy's not going to get you a lot of points, but Matisse Thybulle for the 76ers, he's 43% rostered. So, close to half and half, chances are he's out there. Again, he's not great on points, but he does have a decent field goal percentage based on the volume. He hits 91% from free throws, 2.5 rebounds, a little less than an assist in a game, but he gets 2 steals, averages over a block a game, and he doesn't turn the ball over in about averaging 23 minutes per contest. So Matisse Thybulle is somebody I would like in category leagues if you're looking for an ad in a shallower league, 10-team, he's probably available. So those are the 2 guys I'd have out there for my streamers.
I like Thybulle a lot. First off, he's YouTube's favorite basketball player. For those who don't know, he had a great set of vlogs when the NBA was in the bubble. When I thought they were the most entertaining thing ever. Anyways, so my pick, I mentioned him briefly in the last episode, which is the Knicks guard Emmanuel Quickley. I will say that despite the Knicks hanging on a thread in terms of playoff hopes, he's been getting some shine in terms of minutes. And on top of that, I think his shooting has gotten a little bit better now that Tibbs has given more trust into Quickley and more into the rotation. I feel like his minutes were so on and off. Thank you. So that said, his recent stretch of games were pretty interesting. The win against the Bulls, he only had 8 points, but he did give you 4 assists. Last night against the Hornets, 16, 3, and 4, and a steal. Against Detroit, 18, 6, and 3. And 4 3-pointers, 3 3-pointers in the night before against Miami, 23, 2, 3, and 2 steals. So he's playing efficient ball. I think he's kind of gotten into the motions as opposed to when he started earlier in the season and the shooting was just completely out of whack. So, and for a lot of this, as I said before, the Knicks are hanging by a thread and more or less these games are meaningless. So why not give him some run? The next couple of games are a little bit more forgiving. You're playing a Cleveland team that's pretty much got it all but clinched. You're playing Orlando, who's pretty much all but tanking. And you're playing the Nets, who are still a defensive liability. You can't tell me otherwise. So that's the set I think the Knicks could capitalize on for the remainder of the week. And I don't want to say he's league winning, but I feel like he's still got a lot of potential to contribute.
Yeah. I really like those streamers, guys. I liked Emmanuel Quickley as well. I think I think he's really good. So we're gonna cut to break now. When we get back, we have quite a fun segment coming up for NFL, getting back to what we know best. So make sure you guys stay tuned.
God, baseball stats are so.
No, I was saying, go ahead and interrupt. Do your thing.
Go off, King. Go off.
Thanks for that clean
Nick had a
break.
beer before he came in
I'm
this
hungry.
evening. I don't know what's wrong with him. We're actually going out for some beers and some food afterwards, so I think he's just excited for that.
I am so
I was
ready.
waiting for Jack to say some pints, but then I realized he's not
A
Irish.
couple of jars. to be honest.
He's lived around here long enough.
A couple of jars. That's where I was.
That's a new one.
Oh, I'm totally stealing that.
A couple of sherbets.
Me and the
couple of
mates are
sherbets
going for
down
a
the
couple
pub.
of jars.
As long as Smokehouse isn't actually smoking, then we'll go in there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully
be
it's
all right.
not. Hopefully it's available. Right. So what we're going to do here is obviously to this point in the off season, we're about a month away from the real NFL draft. And free agency's been going for about 3 weeks, 4 weeks or so now, and some teams have made some really good moves. Some teams have made some really bad moves. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about which teams they are, and we're going to give one winner and one loser each. So, Gil, why don't you get us started off here of your winner in the offseason so far?
Well, my honorable mention of winner would be the Denver Broncos. Obviously, they arguably had one of the best off seasons in the league this year, acquiring Russell Wilson,
All right,
so on and so
don't
forth.
analyze the Broncos now.
I'm giving them their fair share. All right, I'm giving them their due diligence. My winner is the Cincinnati Bengals. The overlooming issue for them.
Overlooming?
Overlooming. I made a new word. The overbearing issue.
I am the smartest man alive!
The overbearing issue for them, all of last season, despite having an impressive run to the Super Bowl, was that they had no protection for their franchise guy, Joe Burrow. So what did they do? They signed offensive linemen. And wow. I can't stress enough how impressive and how important it is that they actually went up after players that they needed. They signed, what's his name, La'el Collins from the Cowboys?
La'el Collins, yeah.
I probably butchered that name. Shout out to Nick.
I'm just glad he doesn't have to block the Giants' lack of pass rushers anymore.
Yeah, so they signed him, and he obviously is a big name, and I can't really get to the rest of the offensive line. I think they'll probably draft a couple more as well. They're going to develop into probably probably more than 12-win team, I think. I think they might hit 13 or 14. Because now, first off, they were leading the league last year in touchdowns outside of the red zone. That's impressive. Obviously, a lot of the deep puts to Jamar Chase, so on and so forth. But now you have Joe Burrow with time? Wow.
Yeah.
It's going to be worrying.
That's worrisome. I don't think any team in the AFC North catches up. Even if Deshaun Watson doesn't miss time, which he probably is, I don't think they'll catch up. From top to bottom, they have a good team. Defensively, they'll probably, aside from signing Eli Apple again,
Burnt toast.
Cooper Kupp child.
They're young as well. They're young.
Yeah, they're young. They're young. And again, young team. I think they have it. I think they got it. I think they probably finished 2 or 3 seed.
Yeah.
Maybe even 1 if Buffalo kind of flounders a bit. But I like them.
Yeah, no, I was in lockstep with Gil as well. The Achilles heel clearly was the lack of protection for Joey Burrow in the AFC playoff run that they had. I think if he would have gotten a couple more seconds, they might have won that Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So, and we talked about it a couple weeks ago. So I really like what the Bengals did in the offseason so far, because they were already loaded on the offensive side of the ball. You got almost, I would dare say, almost 3 number 1 receivers there. You know, in Higgins, Boyd, and obviously in Jamar Chase, who has just a substantial rapport with Burrow from their time in LSU together. So yeah, I think I said this joke. I don't know if I said it on air.
I think you said it last week too.
All right. So I'll leave it alone if you haven't gone back and listened to that episode. Go ahead and listen to it. But I won't pile on the Bengals anymore, even though they were my initial choice. I'm actually going to give Gil's team a little bit of love here, so I will take the homer away from him. What it should be to San Diego, but they are now the Los Angeles Chargers. They should be. Yeah, Dean Spanos is a punk. But anyway, I actually have the Chargers as a big winner for this offseason, and not anything that they did on the offensive side. I really love what they're doing on the defensive end to counter all the firepower that other teams are doing in that division. Obviously, you got to face Patrick Mahomes twice a year. Derek Carr, which I think he's a better quarterback than what people will give him credit for. You got to face him twice a year, and now you got to face Russell Wilson coming in for the Denver Broncos twice a year.
Not to mention Devontae Adams in the fold too.
Yeah. So with the Raiders, I still can't believe he chose him over Rodgers, but whatever. But I really like what the Chargers did because yes, people talk about the Khalil Mack move, which obviously pairing him with Joey Bosa. I don't know how you're going to be able to protect a quarterback facing both of those guys. Because if you leave either one on single coverage, you're going to get blown up. So that's going to be a nightmare. But also J.C. Jackson getting the stud cornerback from New England. Yeah, I think that's a hell of a move. It's not, it got a lot of love, but I think it deserves a lot more shine than the Mac trade, simply because J.C. Jackson not only is he good on the ball, but he's one of the fastest reactionary cornerbacks here in the league. Like he can adjust to where the ball is in the air quicker than most guys. So he can make a play a little bit, like almost like a receiver. He can make a play on the ball as opposed to just being a man-to-man cover dude. So, you put him under Brandon Staley's defensive scheme. I really like what the Chargers did this year. I agree with you that the Bengals could be a top 3 seed in the AFC. I actually dare say, I said this last week, I might have them in number 1. But I have the Chargers actually winning the division, the AFC West.
I'm so anxious to agree with you. I'm so anxious to agree.
I know you're chomping off the bit. I said that the Chiefs' window has been closing. I want to say it's closed now that Tyreek Hill is in Miami. But, Patrick Mahomes is still that dude. So I tentatively am optimistic that the Chargers will win that division, so I like them a lot.
I think the one thing because I just want to say that despite the Mac trade to complement Bosa and signing Sebastian Joseph Day to have an interior presence, that secondary, I think, is entirely underrated.
Suck it, Gil!
Thank you. That secondary is entirely underrated. Derwin James and Asante Samuel Jr. are both very young and have lots of potential. Derwin James has already shown how well he can do. Now you have somebody to give him help, which is incredible. I can't stress enough.
Do you want to talk about them in the next segment?
Well, that's a different problem. Hey, you had your spiel about the Pelicans last segment, so.
But we weren't talking about the Pelicans afterwards.
Okay, well, that's all I had to say, but you go on.
I just noticed Gil's date is last year in his book.
Oh my God, did I write 21? I'm silly.
21. He's living in the past. Okay,
Sheesh.
Nick, your winner.
All right, for the winner, I got my Cleveland Browns.
Your Cleveland Browns?
Oh, wow, yeah.
What? You switched teams?
I think I might have to at this point. It depends on if Watson stays or not, but that's besides the point.
Okay.
Give it to Urban Meyer messing up another tight end.
Ayo.
Too soon, man. Too soon.
But no, what was it? Last year, we all know the running attack in Cleveland's great with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Amazing, great offensive line, great defense. Now you add Deshaun Watson and Amari Cooper to that offense. I think you have a very, very troublesome team in the Cleveland Browns going into next season. They are going to cause so much havoc on both sides of the ball for a lot of teams. Watch out for the Cleveland Browns.
Nick Chubb might be like a top 3.
I think so.
About next
Top
year.
3?
Now that they're not focusing on the run,
He's nasty.
He's first
now that
round.
they
Top
have-
3 in terms of talent, at least.
I think so.
I don't know. It's gonna be. I mean, if Kareem Hunt's there, they do limit each other.
I think if you grab Chubb, you have to reach for Hunt. You have to have.
Oh,
both.
absolutely.
You have to grab him 5th or 6th round.
But that's like the one issue with
play?
Nick Chubb is why I would still take somebody like Dalvin Cook over him, and then I could reach late for Madison.
even when Chubb was playing, Hunt was still a flex option.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No,
because he was
still
touchdown.
it.
It was all
Yeah.
touchdowns.
He was still your guy getting receptions too.
Yeah.
Especially PPR
And
leagues.
with Deshaun there as well, I think it's
Yeah.
going to look even better next year.
It's just dependent on how much time he misses, I think.
Yeah, that'll be. I mean, that's going to be a big story of the next couple of months.
Yeah.
So my winner is the Miami Dolphins. I absolutely love what the Dolphins did this offseason. I think they didn't. Obviously, the huge deal that everyone saw is obviously Tyreek going back to Florida. But it was for 5 picks. That was my one thing. It's like, I mean, obviously he's a top 3 wide receiver in the league, but to give up 5 picks, I thought was quite a lot. But I also, what weirds me out a little bit is that I feel like him and Jalen Waddle are similar in their molds and their like play styles and stuff. So I'm going to be curious to see how Mike McDaniel kind of gets them both into his offense. Obviously he's the offensive coordinator. And that's another thing, another acquisition, Mike McDaniel. I like that acquisition from San Francisco. He was the offensive coordinator last year and they looked pretty good. But another thing I love is Teron Armstead, from the New Orleans Saints now.
Yeah.
Offensive line, that's where they were having troubles. Like everyone saw it last year. Tua, as much as he got stick, like he did not have time on the ball. He didn't have time to find his man. And in fairness, there was a couple of times where he did have time and he didn't do it. So he's going to need all the time he needs. But it wasn't just that I really liked. I really liked re-signing Mike Gesicki, a young tight end who I think is...
I forgot about that one.
I think he's going to be like a top five tight end in the league. They've signed him to a big money deal,
Yeah.
And like when you look at it now, it's like when you look at the tight ends who are in the tight end landscape, you're looking at like, I think Kelsey's going to take a big drop off this year, right? Darren Waller has just gotten Devontae Adams on his team. I feel like it's going to be a little bit more difficult. George Kittle had his injury troubles last year, and there's a lot of mouths to feed there. It's going to be curious to see how Gesicki does this year. And then what I loved is the 2 running backs they added, Raheem Mostert and Chase Edmonds. Like those 2 guys are absolute studs. I mean,
Gaskin's gone. That's
the gas man is done.
He better be out.
Unfortunately, the gas man is done because those 2 guys complement each other really well. Both really explosive, fast running backs.
Is Mostert on a 1-year deal?
Yeah,
This is that prove it. Get the money.
Exactly.
See you're healthy. Yeah.
And another guy who I think is also really underrated that they signed is Cedric Wilson from the Dallas Cowboys.
yeah.
Oh yeah, I
Who's
forgot
been
about
living
that.
behind Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb the last season, and we saw him a couple of times last year have double touchdown games because
When he played.
when he goes, he's and like what? So you have him, flying machine, Tyreek Hill, flying machine, and Jalen Waddle, who also is like we saw last season, is a possession style wide receiver. They also signed Emmanuel Ogbah, who was a huge free agent. He had a 4-year, $65 million deal. So like they did everything right this offseason. The one thing is, could they have maybe got if they had gotten Deshaun Watson, I feel like everyone would be talking about them like they're complete. That's the only thing is Tua now.
They
can
compete
Tua
with the
do it?
Bills in that department.
It all
if
falls-
they had Watson.
It all falls on Tua, but my question for Tyreek Hill, especially now with a coach like Mike McDaniel, how often they're going to use Tyreek Hill like they use Deebo Samuel in San Francisco?
Yeah, they could use him more often. And they also signed Alec Ingold, who's a fullback. I feel like he's going to be like the Kyle Juszczyk of that offense as well.
Right.
I'm going to be curious to see how Tyreek's used because you have to just go back and look at film at him in Kansas City, and you've got to just realize like this is the best way for him to get used. So I'm going to be curious to see. That division is going to be really interesting to me now because I think the Dolphins are going to really give the Patriots a run for their money.
What was really funny though was also the Jets.
Jets improved a lot too.
If Tyreek Hill picked the Jets, because if you guys remember, it was between the Dolphins and New York, and if he picked the Jets, I think the Jets were only giving up like 3 or 4 picks at most.
Yeah.
And they were all very rational. Like the Jets would have given him the fleecing of the century.
Yeah.
If he picked New York.
That would have been weird. All right, Gil, why don't you give us your loser?
My loser, it sounds like a bit of a hot take given the signings that they did have, the Baltimore Ravens, because despite all the signings you make, you fail to address the big elephant in the room. Why haven't you extended Lamar Jackson? That's the problem. Obviously, that's going to get done. I'm under the impression and I'm confident that it's going to happen. Lamar wants to stay in Baltimore, but I feel like it's stalled long enough to be a concern, no?
Is Huntley the next quarterback in Baltimore?
And Huntley played decent ball.
And he played great when
I think he's just biding his time with like all the QB contracts going on at the moment and trying to get as much as...
The market's only going to get worse, I think. That's what I'm concerned.
Should have done in the beginning.
Maybe.
That's the thing. Like, Lamar Jackson will get his money, and I think... But the problem is he's got a year left. How much longer can you wait? Like, and on top of that, you fail to sign any wide receiver in the market. You have to have Hollywood frickin' Brown as your wide receiver 1.
That's terrible.
At least you got Mark Andrews.
Mark Andrews is great, but like nothing. They can't make that leap from perennial playoff team to legit contender if they don't have a certified wide receiver.
Especially with how top heavy the AFC is. Actually, not even top heavy. I'm sorry, the AFC is deep.
But even now they're still in a loaded division now. It's not even that simple anymore. Like they at one point last year they were the 1 seed. Let's not forget like they were a good team minus all the injuries.
Yeah, I was gonna. That's what I was.
They were an injured team and the 1 seed at one.
Peter's going out immediately.
Marlon Humphrey got hurt. They lost 2 of their go-to running backs immediately. They had to sign Freeman,
Gus Edwards, and
J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah, J.K. Dobbins, man.
But you need a wide receiver. They failed to address it. Odell is still a free agent. They didn't make a single effort, I feel, at Allen Robinson. So why didn't they try? I feel like they've only made signings to improve things that they were already good at.
A lot of the moves that they made was lateral. What was their big splash this year? Darius Smith probably was the
No, they were about to sign Darius Smith and then he backed out and then went to the Vikings.
Yeah. That's worrying in itself.
Yeah.
I feel like the Baltimore are in a better position right now.
They signed I think a safety.
I honestly, I
really don't
hardly
know.
heard a peep out of Baltimore this offseason. So
No,
which is probably why they're a loser this offseason.
That's the problem. You can't extend Lamar Jackson. That is your franchise player. You will not improve at quarterback if you don't keep him. And then on top of that, you fail to give him any help. So I don't see the issue. And on top of that, they only extended John Harbaugh like yesterday.
Yeah.
You know what you could have done? Extended Lamar Jackson. Like I feel like there's an issue. That's my big issue. I think it's so dumb.
You make a very interesting point, and I'm actually going to call an audible since we're on the football side. Since we're on football myself, my mic over here just fell. I was originally going to go with the Tennessee Titans, but as I was, kind of looking over their offseason moves, I think their big acquisition obviously was getting Robert Woods from the Rams. Yeah,
I'm not giving up on Trees quite yet.
You really aren't.
I think he's just going to be the new Julio Jones, just obviously a little bit younger. 600 yards, 3 touchdowns. That's his stealing. I think A.J. Brown will eat. But I'm going to pivot simply based on what Jack said about Baltimore, where you haven't heard a peep out of that team. You have heard a peep out of this one team, but that was it. Just a peep. My losers are the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs are my losers. I'm stealing this from Jack a little bit.
God damn it. A little bit.
Jack's over here like, who am I going to talk about?
I'm going to steal it from Jack, but only for one thing. Because I just wanted to see the look on his face.
Are we not playing by Jack's rules?
Carlos is not playing by anybody's rules.
Holy hell.
I'm just kidding. I'm not taking the Kansas City Chiefs.
You just saw the look I gave him.
Oh my God.
So
I wish you did what now?
Just so people know, right? Before the show, we have time together where we talk about who we're going to talk about. I'm like, I had the Kansas City Chiefs. I remember Carlos at that time, about an hour ago, was like, oh, okay, that's a good one. And all of a sudden, you pivot to them midway through.
No, see, this is
what is this all about?
This is where I wish we had a camera because I just wanted because we have notes and stuff, and we try to over prepare. I like Jack.
Actually, you know what? It'll back up my point. If you really do think they're as much of a loser as I do, it will.
I do, but I want you. I want you to go ahead and because you obviously did the work on it.
The amount of fear on your face.
Yeah,
when
I just really.
Chiefs.
It was worked out to a T because Jack immediately flailed at Bizarre. I was like, what are you doing? No, but I got the New England Patriots. In all serious note, I got the New England Patriots. Because Jack talked about the Miami Dolphins. They obviously got much better. And that's kind of why the Kansas City Chiefs are losers in that same breath. But the Buffalo Bills are obviously still the team to beat in that division. The New York Jets, believe it or not, they're not going to be as bad as they were the last couple of years.
I don't think so either.
Because I like their quarterback. I think he can take a step forward. I kind of wish the Jets would have gotten Allen Robinson or a receiver like that. To make a little bit more of a play. But we have to kind of take this all with a grain of salt. The draft is coming up. We got to see what these teams are going to do after the draft, and then you can
we're talking
kind of
about the
appropriate
right
them.
now.
So right now, the Patriots to me are clear losers.
Also, Zach Wilson can't throw for anything. That's all.
That's a lie.
Zach Wilson's got a. I think
Zach Wilson's got an arm. I think you're lying.
It's his feet work right now is pissing me off.
Give me Mike White over.
Give Zach Wilson. No, give Zach Wilson a good O-line. I'm telling you, he's giving you numbers.
That ship has sailed. And the Jets, the Jets' offensive line, I think is gonna be a lot better this year.
I agree.
I think it's gonna be a lot better. But let me go to the Patriots really quick because I know we're kind of a little long. the Patriots, what moves have they made this year? You know, they replaced J.C. Jackson with a bum from Tennessee. Oh, I'm sorry, from Houston as their cornerback. They have probably one of the older defenses in the league, and they have no playmakers on the offensive side. You know, you have a young quarterback, second year, Mac Jones. Who is he throwing to? You know, Jacoby Myers had 2 touchdowns of all last year. It was a running gag that he couldn't score. Yeah. Brandon Bolden's one of your running backs.
He left. He actually went to the Raiders.
Oh yeah, so it's Ramondre Stevenson.
Yeah.
You know, I think he could be okay. I think they have.
Stevenson was serviceable in all of Damon Harris. And when Damon Harris missed time, Stevenson was a serviceable back.
They have Hunter Henry as
They
well.
did sign Jabril Peppers.
Yeah, they had to because they had too many tight ends at that point.
They did sign Jabril Peppers like 2 days ago.
If you're Urban Meyer, you messed up.
It depends who you ask.
I think to your point though, I think what
Urban Meyer messing up another tight end.
There it is.
like to your point is when you don't hear stuff in the offseason about a team,
Chances are you're not doing that.
especially a team that like it's the New England Patriots. You know, we all know that dynasty has been over the last while, you know, and you think with Bill still there, you'd think that he would be trying to make some moves. So it is curious to see that they haven't done that much. So
like their big moves, time Montgomery.
No,
like, I don't care.
But the Patriots are never in the running to make big signings. At least they weren't in like the last 5 or 6 years.
But when you have a quarterback on a rookie deal, that's where you start to make the big signings.
Right.
If you really believe that your quarterback is the guy, and they'll talk about Jones, he's the most pro-ready out of the quarterbacks that came out of that class. To have success right away, it was either Mac Jones to San Francisco the whole time. He landed in the perfect spot with Bill Belichick and the Patriots. Now you need to surround him with playmakers, and they have none.
yeah,
Can we just say how last year the New England Patriots were the winners after having 8 to 10 what was it called? Off-season pickups, and then they ended up being one of the worst.
The signings last year they made were so necessary to the offense.
They were great, but then they was just so mid and so average to the point where it's like, thought you were going to go further.
Yeah, like Kendrick Bourne was their best signing.
Yeah. Like
their best signing was Matthew Judon, and it wasn't even
That's
close.
true. That's true. You're right.
Like all those signings, Hunter Henry was still a touchdown machine. But like, with all these signings, it's just so hard to say if you're winners or losers when you don't know how well they're going to do in that team.
yeah.
That's my point. And then for a loser, I got your team. I got the Atlanta Falcons, and I don't think it's that close. They lose Matt Ryan. They lose Calvin Ridley. They lose Russell Gage.
I think the NFL lost Calvin Ridley.
And just matters worse, they added Marcus Mariota. Like I
Say it louder for the people in the back.
I just don't understand what they're doing. I think they really are tanking.
Yeah,
they are
tanking.
tanking. For who's that quarterback they're looking for?
Probably like Bryce Young or
Bryce Young from Alabama.
Yeah.
I think that's what they're looking for. They're tanking, and they're trying to get some good draft.
Maybe C.J. Stroud from
Yeah.
Ohio State.
debatable.
It's one.
No.
I like Young a little bit better,
Is it
but
Brees Hall as well? Is that not?
I'm sorry.
Brees Hall, is he not one of the? Or is he this draft?
I know. Yeah, I only know. I know
Hall's
Bryce.
this draft.
This draft, yeah.
Yeah, I know Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud next year.
I can't disagree with you. I'm not going to go into it because we're going to talk about our own teams just at the end, a little segment at the end. But I'm going to talk about my loser, Kansas City Chiefs. Spoiler, obviously.
Oh,
if
no
you haven't
way.
worked that out. If you haven't worked that out already.
Game according to Master Jack's rules.
Well, we're not apparently, according to Carlos's rules. So obviously the big one's Tyreek leaving.
Out of the table, Carlos.
And the other big thing is that I think them signing Juju and Marquez Valdez-Scantling, I just think that just is not. They're just. Don't get me wrong. I still think Juju has something left in him. I know he's become a meme because of these TikToks he's doing, whatever. But I still
Him and Jackson Mahomes can do things together.
Oh my God!
It got to
We
the
know
point
what's going to go on. We know what's happening.
where Pittsburgh got rid of Antonio Brown because they thought Juju was the guy. And let's be honest, he hasn't been the guy. But I think Travis Kelce might score like 20 touchdowns this year, or he might finally taper off, which he still hasn't done. But he's 32 years old now, and it's going to happen sometime soon. But what I hate, which everyone's talking about this, the wide receiver signings and whatnot. What I hate they've lost Tyrann Mathieu, who was a focal point to that defense, and they have like no defense. They have no cornerbacks. They signed Charvarius Ward just like the other day, but he's not great. He was with Green Bay, and they don't have a defensive line either. So what's going to happen is they're going to be playing the Broncos, the Raiders, and the Chargers 6 games in the year. I really think they're going to struggle because they obviously it's the Chiefs. They always get into these shootouts, but I don't think they can do that anymore. Like you're going to play against defenses, as we were talking about with the Chargers, for instance, with Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa. Like you're not going to just be able to now go into LA and put up 40 points. I just don't think that's possible. And I really think
you can, but you might lose to the other team might put 45.
Exactly.
That's the problem. What's the point of giving you 40 if the other team can put up 41?
Yeah,
exactly.
You can't say F it. Tyreek Hill's down the field anymore. He's not there anymore.
You're like, oh, F it. Juju's 10
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
There's only so far Byron Pringle can run, and it's not. I
Didn't Pringle leave too?
maybe he did. I like Mikael
Robinson
Hardman.
left.
Yeah.
Demarcus Robinson.
He's on the Raiders, isn't he now?
Yeah,
I thought Pringle signed somewhere else too. I could be down.
Mikael Hardman's a bit of a flying machine as well.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just think the Chiefs, not only have they lost because of their off-season acquisitions and people leaving too, they lost because of the way their division has panned out as well.
Yes.
All of their division has won. Like the three other teams are winners.
Somebody
right now.
has to lose.
So the Chiefs are losing, and I'm obviously Patrick Mahomes is going to be there for the rest of for the rest of the time probably. But if you're Patrick Mahomes, you've got to be a little bit worried. So anyway, with that being said, let's get on. We're talking about the Chargers, so we're going to each talk about our team. So at this point, if you've listened a while, you know which teams we all like. So since we were just talking about the Chargers, Gil, why don't you just talk us a little bit through your Chargers and what you think they might need from this upcoming NFL draft?
At this point, you are a team that just came out of the playoffs, so now you have a little bit of draft capital, or didn't miss the playoffs rather. You got to look for depth now that you've made the acquisitions that you've made. Specifically, depth on the interior. I mentioned last episode, I think they draft, if they can get him in a dream scenario, Jordan Davis from Georgia. They need another interior presence to complement with Joseph Day, along with Mack and Bosa on the edges. That's it. I just think depth. If you can get him, and if you're not looking defense, look to depth at the wide receiver spot or depth for Eckler, because Joshua Kelly is great, but a good third stringer would also be great if they look maybe further deeper into the draft. It is a pretty stacked draft at everywhere but the quarterback position this year, so I wouldn't be shocked if they looked at things that that could really bolster up things that they already are really good at.
Yeah, no, I like that. I mean, that just shows how well the Chargers have done that, because that was the shortest segment Gil's ever done. You know what I mean? Like Gil has just done that.
I said my piece.
That's how well the Chargers. Like honestly, the Chargers really you're right. Depth. That's all they really need. Right. I'm going to go to the Giants fans here. I don't know which one of you wants to take off first.
Can we both go at the same time?
Which one of you is going to say
Just
everything?
Talk over each other.
You want to paper, scissors, rocket?
I'm saying everything. They're doing rock, paper, scissors.
Shoot.
Okay. Nick's going first.
I was going to scream out everything, but at some point, there are two big categories that I think the Giants really need to address. First of all, I want the offensive line to be fixed. I think if at least Daniel Jones has some time and Saquon Barkley can get
Every time you mention Daniel Jones, I'm going to beat him.
I'm not going behind Daniel Jones here. But if he's got a line and Saquon Barkley can at least get between there and he's not getting tackled in the backfield, I think that offense could do something, at least something, rather than nothing at all. And then a pass rusher. They haven't had anything besides Michael Strahan and Justin Tuck for the longest time. Quarterbacks are in the backfield cooking up our defense because no one's out there helping them out, giving pressure to these quarterbacks. Those are the two biggest things I think we need.
I'm surprised nobody said everything yet.
I think they're waiting for the Falcons fan to talk about everything.
because spoiler alert, the Falcons need everything. If you're rebuilding and you know it, clap your hands. If you're rebuilding and you know it, clap your hands. If you rebuild, no, but the Giants are rebuilding, and that's this is the one-off season that it's going to be a break from me from the last 5 years. I've been killing, actually, yeah, maybe even further than that, but I've been killing Dave Gettleman for his entire tenure. I've been killing. Go ahead, hit the dinger if you want.
I agree with you. Dave Gettleman was awful,
and I've been and I've been killing Jerry Reese toward the end of his tenure also. I mean, granted, I know he won a Super Bowl, but he won it with Ernie Accorsi's players. With that said, the Giants actually don't need everything. A lot of the moves that they made were not sexy because Gettleman has left them in such I'm going to edit this. Dave Gettleman has left them in such a position with the cap space that they have or lack thereof.
The Galladay signing killed it for them.
The Galladay signing, but just, this is why you don't take a running back 2 overall. I like Saquon the person. I can't say I know the guy. And I do believe his talent, from his rookie year, that's who he is. But he's been banged up the last 2 seasons. The offensive line obviously is a work in progress. And I'm also kind of getting sick of the Wade Barkley, and he's been doing it at Penn State too. He gets the ball, he immediately looks to make a move. He tries to shake left and right to
He's
defenders.
afraid to get hit.
Yeah, they're like, especially, sometimes just take the easy yardage. Take the 2-3 yards, fall down forward. I don't need...
Like Wayne Gorman.
Right. I don't need you to go ahead and take, a 50-yard burst every single time. So I'm actually not opposed to seeing Saquon Barkley in a new uniform this year.
I honestly think he might be in a better scenario. Like when James Conner left Pittsburgh and went to Arizona and he's in a better situation. I think that's what should happen with Saquon.
If the Giants can get good value for him, I mean, obviously you're not going to get a first-round pick, but let's say you can get 2 seconds. I might make the deal because
Absolutely.
I don't think you're not in a position to pay him, and Jones is not the quarterback. So listen, I don't want to be all doom and gloom. What I do like what the Giants have done is obviously in the front office and the coaching staff. I really believe that getting the understudy in Buffalo and Joe Shane to bring to the Giants organization and to kind of restructure the whole thing. Now you have Brian Dable from Buffalo Bills as well, who's the offense coordinator. He's a head coach. I love the Wink Martindale's defensive coordinator move. I thought Baltimore was ridiculous for parting ways with him. And then this is where the Giants, this is kind of my long-winded answer to what the Giants really need. They need pass rushers. I agree with you completely. This is a quick lesson for all you football fans. The most important position in any team is the quarterback. The second most important is left tackle because you need somebody to protect your quarterback's blind side, unless they're a left-hander like Tua. The third most important position is someone to attack that quarterback, someone who can get past that left tackle, and that's where a pass rusher defensive end goes in. So I would love in a perfect world like Aiden Hutchinson to just fall into their lap. I don't think that's going to happen. I can't see the Jacksonville passing on them.
Yeah.
And then even so, Detroit could be another team that could take them. So Kayvon Thibodeau from Oregon is another guy that I would love, but I can see that another
They
team,
might get picked way
he
before
might get
his
picked
chance.
also.
Yeah.
Kyle Hamilton, I think he's going to be a great fit for the Tennessee. I keep saying Texans in Tennessee, but I think Kyle Hamilton is going to be the number 3 pick. So that's all good. If you need pass protectors like the Giants do. That leaves Evan Neal from Alabama. I think he would be a great selection at the 5th spot.
Wow.
That's who I would be targeting if one of those pass rushers don't fall to me. So, kind of roundabout way for saying I agree with Nick. I think pass rush is where you need to go. If you can't get a pass rusher, then get somebody on that offensive line to protect it.
There are some really good edge rushers in this draft. We were doing some research a little bit beforehand as well. So I will happily say that the Falcons need everything. I mean, it's
Absolutely
obvious. Everyone has just memed on them all
We're playing this
offseason.
game according to Master Jack's rules.
Honestly, it's been actually quite difficult to
watch.
to just go through the offseason with a team clearly just being terrible. It's so difficult. I'm not going to go too deep into it. Obviously, they've lost Matt Ryan, which, to be honest with you, I really like Matt Ryan, and he deserved to go. He deserved to go.
I think this is the Matt Stafford treatment. They're you did so well for us. Go win something.
You can't, once your team goes and does that and goes after Deshaun Watson, and he was about to come there too. Matt Ryan, you deserve to go. Go and do what you want to do.
I want to see him pull a Matt Stafford.
Yeah, we'll see. Obviously, Calvin Ridley will not be playing this season.
That's going to be a tough conference to go.
They've lost Russell Gage to a divisional rival. They also lost Foy Oluokun, who was really good last season. He got to the quarterback a lot.
He sounds like one of Megatron's henchmen. Wah, 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 wah.
And they cut Dante Fowler, which I thought was a weird move too. So, I mean, basically, they need help everywhere. They did sign, obviously, they signed Mario. I love that they signed the Swiss Army knife in Cordarrelle Patterson. I like that they
That was the only move that they made that was.
And they re-signed Jake Matthews, who's been pretty good on the offensive line as well. So that being said, they need help in the wide receiver 100% because right now it's Olamide Zacchaeus who is the wide receiver 1 who that is terrifying. So they need wide receiver, they need offensive line, and they need linebackers.
Where did they draft this year?
So they drafted the 8th spot. I really like Garrett Wilson. I think Garrett Wilson could. I think he's going to be the first wide receiver off the ball.
Yeah.
Ohio State. I think
Chris Olave is not bad. A consolation prize if you can get him too.
Yeah, honestly, I think that they need to just bite the bullet and be like, we need help there, and we need to take the best. Ultimately, I want them to take the best option available. That's what they did last draft when they took Kyle Pitts. So I wouldn't be too mad.
I forgot he's there.
Yeah. I'm going to talk about Kyle Pitts. That's what they did last draft. That was the best option available. I think they need help on the offensive line. I really like Devin Lloyd from Utah as well. He's a really good linebacker, but I do think that the 8 spot might be a little early for him. I think
I agree.
Better
he's a mid.
there.
I think he's a mid first round pick.
I think I can see him going to Philly. To be honest, like Philly have 2 picks. I think at 15, 16 right now. I think so. It's I don't know. I
wouldn't be shocked if Philly traded one of those either.
Yeah, I just think they need to take best available, and I'm not hoping for anything. Now, one thing I will say that I really liked about a signing they made was Casey Hayward, which went completely under the radar. Casey Hayward is still a really good cornerback, and you know what? The first thing he said when he came in. He said that training with AJ Terrell, he said this is the best player I've lined up against ever in my life. AJ Terrell is the real deal. I talked about him last year. He's a really good corner. You do not want to pass the ball on him. And if you have Casey Hayward the other side, it's actually going to be quite difficult, I think, for people to pass on them next year, provided that they get some linebacker help. Because otherwise, they're just going to balls are going to get dropped over the middle, and
that's why that Fowler cut in to make it
exactly. That's something must have happened there. That's why I don't look into these.
Yeah, I'm thinking if it's a salary dump or something, because
maybe there was a maybe he just didn't get on well in the organization because ultimately they've not been doing a good job. So. That will be all, guys. That was quite a long episode. I think we've just gone over the hour mark.
We did hit the hour mark. Well done,
so,
Jack.
Carlos, thank you so much for editing this long well.
I'm literally just trimming the middle, the beginning and the end. That's it.
Hey, we spoke well. You gotta just cover up your cuss word. That's all.
I might leave it.
Oh my God. Okay, before we get to. 4 Horsemen Fantasy on Instagram, guys. Follow us there, and please follow us on YouTube too, where we post all our podcasts. We're going to try and post them on Spotify and SoundCloud as well. I'm going to try and sort that out this week. So thank you guys for listening. Thank you, boys. It was a pleasure. See you guys next week.
Let's get drunk.